Greetings. This is Chuck Meyer, Senior DevRel at Algolia, shouting into the void once again. Hope you're all doing well. It is March 29th, and every Tuesday I jump on here to hang out, maybe do a little bit of live coding, chat with anyone who stops by, and, just kind of have a Tuesday afternoon. Always nice to force myself to do a little bit of coding. Nice to, maybe share it with the world, even if you're not here live. Maybe you're stumbling upon this sometime down the road. I'd find something that's useful to you. So we're going to keep doing it. Here we go. What's up? What's been going on this week? There's actually not a lot of community stuff to talk to this week, or at least not a lot that I have captured. But I can talk about a couple of things. Let's see here. Let's jump over and share screen here. So one thing out in the community, one of my colleagues, Robert Mogus, who's one of our directors of engineering, appeared on the engineers, I don't know if you call it a podcast when there's video, kind of a podcast, video podcast. Anyway, talking about building out platforms that scale, to trillions, or at least 1.5 trillion operations. So this is kind of an interesting piece of content you could throw on in the background, take a listen to. Some interesting insights there at doing, SaaS APIs at scale. So that seemed like kind of an interesting piece of content to highlight. What else? Oh, yeah. So Turnstone, Tom Southall dropped this, I guess, a couple weeks ago, March 15th. Super clean, super nice looking autocomplete experience. Lots of kind of nice fancy icons. Interesting sort of like approach to doing sort of granular, kind of breakdowns of search. You can see here, searching, this is kind of a geographic search where if you get into like a major metropolitan area like New York, you can actually kind of drill in even further. You can see a demo of it here. Let's see, we'll do a super fancy example. So if I say like Los Angeles, I guess we can do it for Los Angeles. Let's try New York. New York. Yep. So you can see kind of it's got like this really nice clean interface, pulling in airports down here, pulling in cities here. I think this is being populated right now with, I want to say, a MongoDB source. I think it's a MongoDB airport source. Let's see if it says here in the repository. So config. Let's just look at the source itself. It's an app. It says search fruits. That's definitely not the same one. Okay. Components. Those are all the little pieces. But I think I recall from the site here, at least giving some shout outs to oh no, this shows that example. Okay, got it. This is the example that we were looking at with the fruits. So you can see it's very similar to the Algolia autocomplete. You've got the concept of being able to sort of pass in different sources and getting it to populate. So obviously you can see where my brain's going with this. Like, it would be super cool to plug Algolia search into the back end of this and kind of build out like a really kind of fun UI on top of Algolia using this third-party autocomplete. Obviously, we have our own autocomplete JS, but boy, I just really like the look of this. It's super clean. It'd be kind of fun to put it together. So, Tom, I see you're out on Twitter. I don't know if you'd be interested in working together on this one. Maybe it's something I'll just kind of do on my own in a future live coding project. But I should drop it in there just in case this is a user interface you think you would, or a component that you think you would like to use yourselves. So that's Turnstone. Super cool. Other stuff. I am compiling all the stuff that I did for the Strapi conference. If you attended the Strapi conf, maybe you stopped by our booth. If you didn't, I was doing some live demos on sort of integrating Algolia search into a Strapi powered blog. So I actually I've shown this before, but I took sort of an existing walkthrough from the Strapi site where you build out a blog, and I added this sort of autocomplete experience into it, right? So you can say shrimp. You can see like shrimp is awesome. This shrimp is awesome. That particular shrimp is awesome. Anyway, so I kind of did that live. I've written a blog post. It's going through final review right now. But if you wanted to play with this, the sandbox that goes along with it is up. And also, like, I've got the before and after versions of the blog. So this is sort of, there's a branch here that has, this is the version without search, right? So you can pull this down and run this. And this is just essentially like the front end of a Strapi blog. And then this is the same code with search integrated. So it has like this autocomplete component and some of these other pieces. It'll make more sense once the blog post goes up. But again, if you've been pulling around, as I've been kind of playing with this stuff on the live stream and you wanted to jump in, that is the source for that. So last week, I started playing with React hooks, right? So Algolia has this new version of instance search that is built around React hooks. And I think I just saw something about like React 18 just dropped. Yeah. It's now available. So there you go. Maybe you didn't hear it here first, but maybe you did. So React 18 is out there now. Anyway, so we've been playing with React hooks. Anyway, we've been playing with React hooks here, and we have in beta a React hook based, foundationally based version of instance search, fundamentally different than the existing React instance search, which is sort of more component based. So what this does is it surfaces a series of custom hooks for each of the different components that you would typically add into a search interface. So your search box, your results, all of that, rather than passing around a bunch of state information or using our connectors, right? Historically, if you're building like a custom widget, you would use our connector pattern to sort of tie your front end into sort of the abstraction of a search box or the abstraction of a result list. Now you can do the same thing with hooks, and you can kind of grab custom hooks for each of those individual pieces and then use them to build your components. So I am, as I've said many a time, I am fairly new to front end development in general, so definitely new to hooks. And so last week I was kind of stumbling through building out some basic search components. And I can drop this in the chat as well. Cool. So yeah, so that's the React hooks that we've been playing with. And so last week I kind of went through, this is the Strapi front end, but where did I put it? I've got a couple of these going here. Let's see if we can close this one out. And that out. And React 18, we'll leave that up. We'll look at that later. But what I did was I was going through kind of this getting started on React hooks, and was building out some of these components, right? So there's sort of a step-by-step of adding a search box, a step-by-step of adding hits. And so I've been going through and kind of in my code sandbox, I've just been going, is this the right concept? That's the Strapi one again. Let's bring this one over. I see. Mute out here. Mute out here. Close that up. Just a little cleanup. Okay. So yeah, so I walked through and did sort of this hit object and the search box object. And what we're trying to do here is, rather than using the connectors, we're using these custom hooks. So right now we've got this custom hook for use hits. And basically I could just create like this very simple, wait, let's start with the search box. So yeah, I can create this simple search box, right? Just an input field where essentially I can type in here. So I can say, like, can do shrimp again. And we're using the hook here to, let's see if I can find it. Use search box. Where's our use search box right here? Essentially bind this input field to, oh, that's fun. Why is it not showing up? Aha. There we go. To essentially bind our search box component to the search box abstraction back in the instance search layer, in this instance search hooks layer, right? So that essentially plugs this component into that backend logic for making the API calls out, going and retrieving results, and then serving them up as hits. And then, of course, for those hits, we're doing that through this other component, super small component here, right? That literally is just listening to this hits event and then going and displaying the hits here. Very basic UI, but it kind of gets the job done here. So now we've got kind of the ability to have just a basic search with results, all using hooks, which is pretty cool. So really the point that I'm trying to get to, my goal is to try and understand sort of these hook-based components to the point where I would like to ultimately be able to take sort of one of the older custom widgets that uses the connectors and swap it over to be one of these more modern hook-based ones. But search boxes and hits aren't really kind of particularly useful for that. As you can see, there's not a lot to hits. And honestly, there's almost too much for search box just because you kind of have to do so much around debouncing and kind of all of that other stuff with sort of being that core interactive field. So we were thinking that maybe refinement lists might be a good place to go next. So the first thing I wanted to do is kind of understand the hook-based version of refinement lists. So I thought I might start with that and kind of continue on with this sort of step-by-step of going through, kind of building out the different pieces and see if we can build out a refinement list. Oh, should we drop this highlighting in first? Algolia supports highlighting and returning the highlighted parts of hit and response. You can create a highlight component to retrieve the highlighted parts and turn them into React elements. That might be kind of fun. Should we do that real quick? Let's go ahead and drop the highlight JSX in here and see what happens. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it would be nice to have it in there. Okay, so Okay, and this isn't even really hook-based. This is just kind of grabbing up the highlighted parts from the results. Okay. Yeah, let's just throw this in here real quick. I think it'll be nice and clean. So do we need to add in instance search.js as a dependency here? Okay. So we've got get highlighted parts, and we've got get property by path. All right, and so what are we going to do? So we're going to have this function highlight, functional component highlight. Okay, and it's going to take in these pieces here. So we're getting initial hit, the attribute we're looking for, highlight tag name is a mark, non-highlight tag name is a span. Okay, so that'll be how we render this stuff. And then we build out our function. What are these two values we're adding in here? Let's see. Quantify attribute value equals get property. Okay, so bring in an attribute. We go find it. And then we find the highlighted parts, and we bring those back in as parts. So highlighted parts is this right here. Okay. So we just have this Boolean is highlighted. We do that based on tag name and return it. Okay. So then we have our highlighted parts. And now we just render. I'm just rendering as a span here. Also, we're going to need CSS to pick up those class names at some point. See what it does without it, though. All right, let's drop that in. So for our hit, we're showing I think our hit's over here. Yeah. So we would want to do this for our title. So, yeah. I have this in here. Is it in each one? Yeah, okay, cool. So let's break this out like this. Whoa. Turn that in. Into this. And then turn that into title. bring it in, of course. Or, right. Up there. All right. So if we say hello, right, there we go. So now we're picking up our highlighting. So that doesn't really have anything to do with hooks, obviously. That's just sort of the highlight capabilities, right? You get that whole sort of highlighted chunk out of your results, right? The hit results. And so this is just kind of taking advantage of that. Let's do it for our description too, huh? So instead of hitting our hit description directly, what's this? Down. So now let's try love. I love pizza. I love artichoke. Cool. Not going to win any design awards, but from a usability perspective, it's getting there. I like it. Okay, cool. So we've got some highlighting. Do we want to highlight anything else? Yeah, we could highlight the author name, but let's just leave it there for now. We can always come back and do that later. Cool. So now the refinement list. So search box is a great way to refine a search experience, but sometimes you need to narrow down the results, right? So we have a refinement here, which is, I believe, did I facet this yet? Let's see if we can we facet on categories here? We can facet on category. Got an attribute for faceting. We'll do category name. So now we have, should we make them searchable? Sure. Okay, so my blog has some categories at the top. Now, theoretically, we should be able to facet on those categories. Nice. Okay, cool. So now that we've got facets on our index, oh, I think we want to do that on our production one in this case. I think we're working with the production one. So let's go ahead and searchable attributes. Let's do that first. We'll make title and description and author name searchable. Okay, so we've got 3 searchable attributes, 1 facetable attribute. It's a pretty good start. Let's see. Any negative impact here? That still works there. Ones that I've written. Let's see if we can highlight that. Do that real quick. And it is our hits. Out. So now I should even be able to highlight on my author name there. We would say by. Cool. Yeah. The stamp at the top. Be nice to clean up those date stamps, right? Make them a little bit nicer, simpler, but let's not get into that right now. Okay, so now we've got our refinement list. We can do our categories. So we want to build out a refinement list. So we'll create a new new component here. Okay, and then we need to import the hook. So there's a user refinement list hook. So again, all of these hooks tend to take the names of the widget that you would typically use in an existing React instance search library. So refinement lists, search boxes, all of that good stuff. So React, forget what order it's in, React hook, React instance search hook. Oh, and we don't need the auto Golia. My bad. Okay. Anything else we need? CX. CX library. What's the CX library? Asks the newbie friend guy. Let's see here. Is that a checkbox thing? I bet it's a checkbox thing. Man, checkboxes just stink, don't they? I'm not even going to ask. I'm just going to put this in here. CX. What are we doing here? Last name is filter boolean join. So kind of just getting a list. That's some shorthand there. Are we assuming true there? Very interesting. All right. So if I was a better front-end dev, I'd probably have a better understanding what's going on there, right? Okay. Instead, I'm just going to move along. Okay. So here we go. This is our refinement list. Okay. And we're tying it to our props. So we've got our items list, and then looks like a refinement function or a refine function. Okay, cool. So that probably says that, you know, any interaction with these individual items, that triggers a refinement on the back end with the search. Let's see. And then we just return our thing here. Let's see what this looks like. Should we build it as we go? Let's build it as we go. So we're going to have a root container, which is our refinement list. And then underneath that, we start an unordered list, which is our refinement list. That eventually, obviously. Close that eventually. Okay, Now within our unordered list, what are we going to put in there? We're going to do a map of our items. These are all the possible values that we're going to retrieve via API. And then we're doing some fancy stuff here. So let's see. So we're creating our list item. Grab this. Okay. So for each of those items, whoa. These refine. So we're calling our CX. And then our CX. Whoa. No. I'm looking in the wrong file. I'm working here. But I am interested in what's going on in that CX. So we're passing CX, class of refinement list, item, and a Boolean assessment of is refined and refinement list item selected. And then we return filter Boolean join. Huh. Interesting. So just keeping track of which stuff has been selected and which stuff hasn't. That is fancy pants. Okay. So that's handling our checkbox and whether or not it's checked. And now for our label, okay, cool. So we're bringing in all that information. We go check to see whether or not it's checked, and then we display whether or not it's checked. And then if we do check it, then we call the refine function associated with our hook. And that should keep things in sync nicely. Cool. Let's just start with that piece. All right, so here's our checkbox. At the very least, we're using out of the box checkboxes instead of, crazy custom checkbox. Although obviously that would be one really good reason to use this is if you wanted to use like some fun, funky class for your checkboxes. For now, we're just going to use a regular checkbox. And then along with that, we pass along our label and then our count in parentheses. Let me just grab all three of these. So you get our checkbox, you get the facet label, the refinement label. This should be inside the label, huh? All right. And we need to close our list item. I'm going to break now. Oh, close our map. So that closes our list item. And then close out our map there. Need some code for that. And then our unordered list. Set our div. Now you're very unhappy. Why are you so unhappy? Oh, semicolon and then close the whole thing. Okay, got it. Nice. I don't know why you're way over there. All right, so we're going to use the CX for doing some Boolean state rejiggering. And we're going to go ahead and show a checkbox for each of these. And it's not going to be pretty, but we're just going to drop it right in here and see what happens. Let's see. Put it for hits. Oh, we're probably going to have to pass this. We got to pass it with the refinement's going to be, right? So let's see. Keep that in as it was just category, I believe. The category name. Yeah, category name. So our attribute is category name. Not like that. Did I not import? I'm going to import it. Oh, I did import it. Okay, so why are you not showing up? Let's see, just to confirm. Where do we connect? Function API, article. And then for my facets. Oh, I forgot to save it. Always forget. You actually have to confirm these settings, which makes sense since it triggers a reindex. You make sure you do it all at once. And since reindexing for each thing, does that make a difference? This is looking good. CX is not a function. I do have to bring CX in here too. CX is not a function. Sure looks like a function. I wish I knew what you were doing. That would make this a lot easier. Class names, return class names, filter, new line. We can always look at the expanded version too. a look here again. AIS refinement list item. Does that match up? Class name is ClassCSX. What if we don't have the class name? I don't know what that does. The unique key. No class name. There we go. So no fancy class name stuff. I wonder if that like highlights them or something, does something cool with them. But let's see if this works. The check. You don't actually see the check. That's the problem. It's not rendering the check in the checkbox. So that checks to see if it should be checked. Okay, so we do need that. Okay, let's figure it out here. Bummer. Okay. So we're passing it the string of AIS refinement list item. And then item is refined, and which is logical operator, item selected. And then, so do we need something else to get that is refined? 6 default is not a function. All right. Let's go to the bigger one. Let's go take a look at the full use case. See what it says here. Use refinement list and use refinement list props. And there's CX. All right, let me take a peek at CX. I gotta see this. Where are you, CX? Class names, an array, strings or numbers or booleans are undefined at all. Let's see, we're spreading those. Am I doing that in mine? One, two, three. Class names are spreading. And then we're just returning them as a string. So we're taking all of the class names as an array and then returning them as a string. Is that all that's doing? Filter on Boolean. Oh, so, okay. It's doing some sort of, that's the piece that's tricky to me, is like, what is that Boolean logic? People get so fancy with their code. Not everyone's as smart as you are. Let's see here. Let's see where we use it again here. It's my refinement list. This from search is show more items refined, search for items. Use refinement list props. There's an effect. So there's that piece. Call CX with AS refinement list item. Fine, grab that. Just need that class name. It looks like the same code to me. Does it look the same code to you? So you put it right down here underneath that. CX. Yeah, the only thing different is the quotes. And I'm pulling in CX from CX. Is that how you're doing it? There it is. Not a function. Aha, look at that. Now they get highlighted. Cool. All right, so how does that work? So here's our little refinement list. There's some sort of voodoo happening here, right, where we're going through and we're finding all of the ones that are refined, right? So all the ones that have checkboxes. Look at that. They go to the top too. That's interesting. Kind of cool. Okay, so all of our little refinements are getting sorted. Getting the appropriate styles attached to them based on whether or not they're selected. And we're showing the value. We're showing the value here, but we're setting the value and we're showing whether or not it's checked. And then we've got the nice little count here and a refinement list count. These styles are so fancy. Looks so nice. To me, at least. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So all we're doing essentially is we're just we're grabbing the list of properties, right? Which, of course, we're getting from an API call right here from our facet, category name facet. And so like if we wanted to, we'd have to build a new article if we wanted to add in new facets or values for the facet. That looks pretty clean. So everything here is really within the HTML, right? All we're doing is we're essentially doing this map, this refine function. Let's take a look at that real quick. Refinement list. So here's the hook. Attribute. Oh, we can limit the number of facets to come. Trigger a show more. We can sort them. Transform them. Cool. Pretty simple. cool. So you can do operators, all the same stuff that you would do if you were using the SDK client library. You can do here. Got a sort by in there too. We sorted by default here. Looks like we're sorted by, appears to be just number of hits. Should make it alphabetical just to see what happens. Let's do it. So does that sort by? Sort by name. Descending maybe? Does it go after the operator or after the operation? That's not how you do it. Construct refinement list. Refinement list. I'm getting too fancy. Can you do it? Oh, you do it within the props. Got it. Okay, and the props probably just get passed down from this component here. Whoa. So we actually just want in our app. Didn't like that. Option sort by is optional, but if it defined, it must either be an array of strings. I have to relaunch Chrome, or a sorting function. An array of strings. Not a string. Interesting. Oh, yeah. So how do I pass it down from a property? Do I do this? Would actually like that? No. All right. I'm not going to mess with that. I'm going to call it a bridge too far for now. We've got a refinement list. Cool. So I think next time, I've got a general idea how this fits together. Next time, I want to find a refinement list that's not using our hooks and try and swap it over. And the one that I thought was interesting is we actually have a couple of, let's see if we can find them. Like that. We have a couple of refinement list widgets that come as part of our PWA e-commerce site. So there's this color refinement one. And it does use hooks. But it does not use, as far as I can tell, it doesn't use hooks for interacting with Algolia. I think it's still using, yeah, see, it's still using a connect refinement list. So I thought it might be fun to try and swap this component over to use the new hook as opposed to the connector. But in order to do that, I need to set up a quick site that actually includes this refinement. So I think that's going to be what we work on next time, is trying to kind of take this, and who knows, maybe we'll even get a PR out of it. That'd be kind of cool. Well, my dog is barking. I think that's a good indicator that it's time to go. So I'm going to leave you there. Like I said, next week we'll go ahead and we'll do a little bit more, maybe with the with that color refinement widget, and see what we can do from there, and start to get ready for the real thing, the real live stream of this kind of whole React hooks thing that we've been working on for the last few weeks. So cool. Hopefully you'll learn something. Sorry no one joined me live. Maybe I won't do this as a live stream next week. Maybe we'll just save it for the real deal one. You guys can see the final product there. Because yeah, I'll talk to you later. Bye.